The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello and welcome to the W2M Network's Smackdown Live Review Show. I'm Brandon Biskobing, filling in for Harry Broadhurst tonight, and joining me as usual, the normal co-host for the Smackdown Live Review, Liz Pugliese. How's it going, Liz?
Good. How are you, Brandon?
Pretty good. Let's jump right into it. Tonight was the go-home show for Clash of Champions, so we got a good bit of prep for the pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. Let's get this thing started. Starting off, a very interesting beginning to the show with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn handing out flyers and trying to start a bit of a yep movement instead of a yes movement, a la Daniel Bryan. And it was funny seeing them having Daniel Bryan shirts just with a P sticker covering the S instead of the S. It was a P for the yup movement. I was thinking, as soon as I saw him, I'm thinking, are they trying to copy Gallows and Anderson?
It actually took me a second to realize that they had just covered up the letter.
Yeah, it took me. I think I didn't actually notice it until they were out in the ring, and I noticed
that's what I noticed.
The S was still there. But interesting opening for them, handing out flyers to the likes of Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, and they saw a few other people around. And then we move on to AJ Styles being in the arena, in the ring, and he's talking about his title match at Clash of Champions, old name Night of Champions, against Jinder Mahal, his contractually obligated rematch this Sunday, and then the Singh brothers come out and they do their normal, they're usually going to introduce Jinder Mahal, but they say, nope, we're moving away from Jinder Mahal, and saying that they want to align themselves with AJ Styles now after what happened last week when Jinder Mahal hit the Colossus on both of them. And now it seemed as though they were maybe doing a face turn, but then AJ Styles notes to them and shows some clips, well, not clips, but photos of them still aligned with Jinder Mahal during the India tour, which I thought was kind of interesting because WWE doesn't seem to make up its mind as to whether or not house shows actually count. But
true.
But apparently in this situation, it does. So that leads to Jinder Mahal coming out and basically proving that the Singh brothers are still aligned with Jinder Mahal. Do you think this is going to lead to anything? Do you think that the Singh brothers may end up turning face and joining AJ?
I don't know. It's for me. It's kind of 50-50. They've had Jinder at a few house shows. I think it first happened when they were in Europe. Beat them down. So everybody suspected it was going to happen sooner rather than later. I enjoyed the opening segment. I thought it had a lot of a lot of funny lines to it. I don't see them turning soon. I would like to see them actually wrestle, another tag team.
Mm-hmm.
That might be interesting, but I don't see them completely turning at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I was expecting them to fully turn now after a seeming complete breakup last week on SmackDown with Mahal hitting the Colossus on both of them. But I agree with you that I would like to see them wrestle on their own a little bit, but I feel like we're not going to get that for a while. And I think if anything, they're going to get, once they're done with whatever happens to Mahal, once his push gets ended or they leave him or whatever, I feel like they're just going to either get pushed back down to NXT or get sent to 205.
I could see that. I mean, I would like to see them go to 205, or I'd hate to see either of them go down to NXT. It's kind of like a demotion.
Yeah. Oh no, I completely with you with that. But I mean, so is 205 at this point. So.
That's true.
But I mean, the other issue with 205 is that it's very. I mean, yes, they're trying to build up, which we'll talk about on the 205 live review, but it seemed as though they were starting to build up the concept of like tag teams with with Swan and Alexander, and then Nice and Gulak, and those two could have fit in there, but it seems like they only work well as a tag team. Maybe it's a little early, maybe it's a Hardy situation where one of them could break away, but like in this early stage, it seems like they're exclusively a tag team.
Yeah, it does tend to always be that weaker link. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to them.
So moving on, we got the first match of the night was Charlotte Flair against Ruby Riott, and we'll get into this. There seemed to have been a theme of a lot of the matches in this show. Charlotte wins by DQ after Natalya attacks her from behind, and then the Riott Squad obviously, continuing the beatdown on Charlotte. And then the Charlotte's able to, break out and starts battling back, and we see Naomi come back in after her, I'm assuming it was a kayfabe injury that Ruby Riott put on her a couple of weeks ago. So Naomi comes back and makes a save and helps out. And then we see Tamina, Lana, and Carmella attack, and that ends that whole thing, which is leading into the whole lumberjack, or I don't know, I guess now they're calling them lumberjacks instead of the old school lumberjill name.
Jills.
The lumberjills. What's interesting for me with this whole concept with the Lumberjacks is that you pretty much have two heel factions in the Lumberjills or Lumberjacks. The only person I could think of that would be a face in this in the Lumberjacks, if she's even going to be in it, because she wasn't in any promotional pictures, is Naomi.
That's a really good point that I never thought of until you said it. Because there's really only, because Becky is out filming the movie. I thought Naomi was actually out filming part of the movie too. I'm not sure. And then there's Charlotte, and those are really the only three, faces.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting point. So I wonder how it'll play out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that you can really think of is that, the whole, I mean, I think the bigger thing is the feud between the Riott Squad and Tamina, Lana, and Carmella in during the Lumberjacks. Like, I guess that will be the main focal point instead of the normal face-heel concept.
Right.
And then moving on, we got Daniel Bryan talking on the phone with Shane for a little bit, saying they've got everything under control and all of that, continuing this whole thing between those two. You've got a Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler match, which, like I said, a theme of the night. Bobby Roode sitting at commentary and then proceeding to get into the match, and a disqualification as a result. Ziggler wins by DQ after Bobby Roode hits Ziggler with a glorious DDT.
Yeah, that annoyed me. I think I posted in the chat right after it happened.
Yeah, exactly. There were 2 matches back to back, which only lasted 5 or 6 minutes in total with 2 DQs. Tonight was a very segment heavy night.
Yeah, I mean, they had already repeated with the women basically what they did on Raw, where all the women ended up, most of them ended up brawling. So they repeated with the women what we saw on Raw. Then 2 matches back to back had the same finish. It's like, at least space it out. Space it out a little bit. Let us forget it happened.
Yeah, at least put the next match, which, wasn't a long match either, but you could have at least put the match that followed, Bludgeon Brothers against 2 jobbers, Colin Delaney and Juan Francisco de Coronado.
It's a great name.
At least you could have put that match in between the 2 to kind of space out the disqualification finishes. And as we expected, we get, Bludgeon Brothers squashing these 2 jobbers. And we got apparently, I don't know if this is going to be a new thing, which I guess it's a way to build up clicks for the website or whatnot. But apparently now Fashion Files is going to be a WWE.com exclusive, which they never even announced or promoted or anything until now, which I don't understand. But it is what it is. Apparently now Breezango is going to face Bludgeon Brothers.
That's random.
Yeah, it is. It's very random. And, I'll admit it, I'm not the biggest Fashion Police fan, or Breezango, or whatever you want to call them. But, they've been pretty popular, and it's surprising that they're the first ones officially, well, except for Hype Bros, but that was a means to an end. They're the first ones to really be fed to the Bludgeon Brothers, because let's be real here. Unless this is another Vince McMahon start a push and then end it abruptly with the Wyatt family, there's no way that Breezango is winning this match.
Yeah, I was wondering. I missed actually the part where they were saying that the show was going to be on the website, which I could actually understand.
Apparently it was already filmed, and they only showed a tiny clip.
I think I read a couple of times that they ended up not. I think it's always filmed, not showing it due to time, but it's pretty popular, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I don't. It's like we just said. It's so random, and there's no possible way that they're gonna win. So you have to wonder what it's gonna mean for the Fashion Files or for Breeze and Fandango as well.
Yeah, they've been one of those teams that have been really popular, and everyone seems to love them, yet, with the exception of the Fashion Files stuff, they haven't really done much in the ring.
Yeah, they wrestle a lot at the house shows, because I see a lot of stuff on social media, where they have matches at the house shows, but they very rarely wrestle.
Yeah, I even forget the last time that they actually had a match on SmackDown or a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I see a lot, like they had a whole string of triple threat matches with the New Day and the Usos for a while at the house shows that were, very popular and very well received. But other than the Fashion Files, you don't see them on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then after that, we get KO and Sammy coming in to start the Yup movement and trying to build it up and trying to get people to join them and trying to make it like the Yes movement. And then they try to get some other wrestlers to come out to join them, but instead we get Daniel Bryan coming out and basically saying, the Yes movement wasn't about me, it was about the WWE Universe, and that's why you're failing. And, pretty much the basic, what you would expect with a promo between these two. And then we get the big announcement that Daniel Bryan is going to be the second, the co-referee, I guess you would say, in the tag match. Which does make an interesting concept because Daniel Bryan is definitely more neutral in this feud than Shane is. So you get that neutral person as a referee, but also you add that added caveat of, is there going to be a potential turn with Bryan or whatnot? And also, we're going to get a ton of rumors now saying, oh, Daniel Bryan is cleared and he's going to be able to take a bump in this match and yada, yada, yada. So it's going to be a fun couple of days.
Yeah, last week I had said that my biggest fear for this whole thing was that, obviously they're building, to me, I feel like it's obvious that they're building the Shane, more drama between Shane and Daniel. And I was like, my biggest fear is that, okay, we will find out that Daniel can wrestle and his first match is going to be with Shane, which would be horrible.
That's what it seems like they're building to.
I know, and that's just, I like Shane as much as the next person, but I've been long over his matches, for lack of a better word to call them.
The only way I like his matches is when they're stipulation matches because you know that you're actually gonna get like a true attitude era type high spot. Like right. When he was in SL, you're like, yes, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get something like that, it's one thing, but he has this whole, becoming like the authority type thing going on, and this Shane, I think that most people like is the one that's not like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it, but it'll be interesting because it'll be like 4 guys in the ring, 2 of them reffing it. You don't really see that, very often. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be great. On one level, it's going to be great because it's going to be a mess.
Oh yeah, those types of matches. Any special guest referee match is always a mess. But now with 2, it's going to be even more of a mess. And those are always fun matches. It's not the most technical. You're not expecting a 5-star match, but it's always a fun match to watch.
Right.
So then after that's all done, we get Usos against Rusev Day, which I guess that's what they're calling the tag team between with Aiden English and Rusev now. And we've got New Day we got New Day at the commentary table eating pancakes and trying to get Corey Graves to eat pancakes, which was hilarious. But then we also get Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin at ringside. And this wasn't, this wasn't a great match. It was a decent match. Rusev Day win. which if you're an adherent to reverse momentum theory, then that's a bad sign for Rusev and Aiden English. But I mean, not really all that much. I mean, that's another match which I don't really fully get the whole, like, normally when they have these multi-man tag match or the multi-team tag matches, it's normally, two people in the ring and everyone else is at ring or is on the apron and you can tag everyone. But now they're apparently doing it where it's basically a fatal 4-way tag match. So it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, I've long said every week, multiple times on on these shows that I'm so sick of triple threat and fatal 4-way matches. This one just doesn't really hold. Well, I mean, I actually like all 4 teams to a degree that are involved. Yeah. Just doesn't really like hold any interest for me for some reason.
It seems like they went from it being very straightforward. It was going to be Usos against Gable and Benjamin. And then, they tossed the New Day in, which is okay. That's fine because New Day is a very popular team and all of this. Mm-hmm. And they beat Gable and Benjamin. But then they suddenly throw in Rusev and English out of nowhere, it seemed. Like, they weren't even in the picture at all.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm not even sure how they got involved. I get that. I mean, Rusev is great, and Rusev is, I think, gaining popularity, not just from how hilarious he is on Total Divas, but this is the first year I've been watching it, but also on social media. He's hysterical. He's very funny. He's very entertaining. So I think that is, helping him.
His stuff on Up, Up, Down, Down is great too.
Oh, it's the greatest. He's amazing.
But I think this whole Rusev Day thing is getting him over more now.
Yeah. I love Aiden English. His singing there. It's just insane. His carol today was, great. But yeah, it just seems that they were thrown in randomly, I guess, based on their, current, popularity. I would have been happy getting New Day versus Rusev Day, because I've long have wanted a Big E and Rusev match.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you could have easily made these like 2 separate matches.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And, it's WWE. What do you expect? And then we got the very prototypical Jinder Mahal decides to blindside AJ Styles during an interview.
Mm-hmm. Standard.
Yep. And we get the interview with Randy Orton and Shinsuke in the ring before their match. It was a funny moment with Shinsuke just saying "yup."
Yep.
Making fun of KO and Sammy's "yup" shirts.
I thought that was really good.
What was that?
I thought that was really good. I like that they just gave him, he just had that one word, but it was perfect.
Yeah, it worked perfectly. And then we got Daniel Bryan joining the commentary table during the main event, which was KO against Shinsuke. Pretty basic, pretty standard match, nothing, too crazy. Until the end, the ref gets knocked out. Daniel Bryan comes off of his chair from ringside, takes the shirt off the ref's back, puts it on, and goes in with Shinsuke pinning Owens at the time and Daniel Bryan making a standard 2 count. Sami Zayn getting annoyed at Daniel Bryan for counting the 2, going after him, and a brawl commences between Sami and Orton, and then we get KO pinning Nakamura after a pop-up powerbomb, after Nakamura gets distracted by Sammy, and KO gets the win. And then we get Byron Saxton saying, "Oh, does this mean that that Bryan is with KO and Sammy?" Which, I mean, this is probably one of the only times that a face commentator has made less sense than a heel commentator. Like that whole thing between Byron and Corey Graves, I was agreeing with Corey most of the time.
Right. Well, I think most people agree with Corey most of the time.
Pretty much. Except for when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, I didn't understand, why he, said that. I was wondering if maybe he was phrasing something wrong, or it was trying to, throw something, off. But yeah, it was weird. It didn't make. Yeah. It made less sense than some of the other stuff that happened.
Oh yes, I mean this was a show that a lot of things made not that much sense, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was pretty much the show. That KO and Sammy did an interview on the ramp and said that no one can stop them, no one's going to take this away from them, yada yada yada, and that they're the best in the world and everything. So that was the show. Your pretty standard go home show to a pay-per-view, which isn't a huge pay-per-view. The biggest thing is the thing between Sammy and Kevin and Shane McMahon. But yeah, do you guys, for go home shows, do you guys do predictions?
We do. Harry also introduced a couple of weeks ago. We give it a score as well first, but then Harry introduced a new segment where we give it a one-word review. So you have to come up with one word to describe your thoughts on the show.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10, and my one word is gonna be repetitive.
I would agree with the 6.5, and I'm going to go with haphazard. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it hit all the storylines it needed to, but it was just all over the place in execution.
Okay, let me get the match card up for Clash real quick. Okay, well, we've got a kickoff show match between, which is another thing they announced tonight, between Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. And I think this is pretty straightforward that Rawley is going to get the push here to set up a singles run for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rawley. It makes the most sense.
The other match announced tonight was the Bludgeon Brothers against Breezango, which we talked about earlier. I think this is pretty straightforward as well. I think Bludgeon Brothers crush.
I gave it about 2 minutes for the Bludgeon Brothers to win.
Yeah. You got the U.S. Championship match, triple threat between Baron Corbin, Bobby Roode, and Dolph Ziggler. This one's a little trickier for me, because I could certainly see Bobby Roode pulling this one out, but I am going to go with Baron Corbin retaining.
I think it makes the most sense for Corbin to retain. I think him losing would hurt him a lot. I think it would put him right back down in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, especially this quickly, because we've only had it for like a couple of months now. Or
Yep, agreed.
Then you've got the Fatal 4-Way tag team match between the Usos, New Day, Gable and Benjamin, and Rusev and English. I want to say that they'd go back to New Day, but I feel like, especially with all of the names that they just randomly threw in here, I feel like we're going to get a swerve, and it's either going to be Gable and Benjamin or Rusev and English.
You know, I would love if it was Rusev and English, but I'm going to go with Gable and Benjamin.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best bet for that one. Then you've got
if Rusev Day...
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, if Rusev Day wins on the pay-per-view, they'll lose it on SmackDown.
Probably, yeah, probably. But I could see them, especially with this being kind of a a smaller pay-per-view, and then maybe trying to get some buzz around it. They may try to pull the swerve and have them win it. Then you've got Charlotte against Natalya in the Lumberjack match. I think they're going to have Charlotte retain this just to finally end that feud and move on to something else. But I think the bigger story here is going to be what happens with the Lumberjacks.
Definitely. I believe Charlotte's definitely going to retain it, and I can see it not even, it's going to turn into some type of, brawl that will play into how it ends.
Oh, definitely.
And if we're really lucky, Carmella will cash in the damn briefcase.
I could actually potentially see that. The Lumberjacks all come into the ring and start brawling, and both Natalya and Charlotte get knocked out, and then Carmella suddenly goes and grabs her briefcase and cashes it in and pins Charlotte as the brawl is going on. I could totally see that.
Yeah, me too. I think it would liven things up a little bit.
Yeah. Then you've got AJ against Jinder for the WWE Championship, which I think this is going to be. I mean, it's a WWE Championship match, so I don't think it'll be that. It won't be like 5 minutes or anything, but I think, especially considering what happened in India and the fact that they only sold out one show and they had to cancel the other one and everything, I think the Jinder experiment is over and done with, and this is going to be a very quick match, and right after this, Jinder drops down to the lower mid card, if not down to main event.
I didn't hear that they had to cancel the second one. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they were supposed to have two, but then they cut one of them because they didn't sell enough tickets.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, I guess you can really only blame so much of that on the failed Jinder experiment. But yeah, no, AJ's definitely gonna retain. I think AJ is the bigger draw.
Yeah, and then what I would presume is going to be the main event: Shinsuke and Orton against KO and Sammy, with both Shane and Daniel as ref. Before this, when it was just Shane, I was saying there's no chance it's going to be Shinsuke and Orton winning this hands down. But especially with the stipulation of KO and Sammy being gone from WWE period, and there not being a chance of them just jumping ship over to Raw, or at least I would assume not, then I think this is going to be one of those where, I mean, I don't know how exactly it's going to work unless Daniel is cleared, but, I could see, a situation where Shane is about to count a very quick 1, 2, 3 on KO or Sammy, and Daniel pushes him away or something, or Shane gets knocked out. But I think KO and Sammy are going to win this one somehow, some way, with some sort of shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious. excuse me. When Shane, the episode where Shane made that, stipulation, I think I was complaining about it on the podcast, that it kind of telegraphed in a sense like that they're going to win. I mean, are they leaving the company? Maybe like, oh, who knows? They can't go to or whatever. But I think I don't know so much if they're going to get like a straight win or whatever. There'll definitely be some type of shenanigans. I can even see them doing something where they're each. I don't know how to explain it. Like how like sometimes they have it where. It looks
where
like
they're
both guys are
pinned
pinned
at the same time.
Yeah, and they're each counting on somebody else. So,
that's actually a good point. Where KO has Shinsuke pinned and Orton has Sammy pinned, and both Shane and Daniel are counting 1, 2, 3 at the same time. Yeah, I could totally see that. That's actually a good point with the 2 ref stipulation.
Right. Yeah, it'll be something. We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those. It's not a huge pay-per-view, but it's gonna be one of those that'll be fun, and especially with the added chaos of the double ref and all of that, it's gonna be one of those fun pay-per-views to watch.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Did we miss anything?
Nope, I think we got it all.
Okay, so that does it for the SmackDown Live review for tonight. And we'll be back in a little bit. We'll be talking more about 205 Live. So after that, you'll be able to catch up on that. So for Liz, I'm Brandon Biskobing saying so long and good night.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.